You can order online and come in, or pick up your food curbside. We have outdoor seating as well. Need something to cool your taste buds? We have tasty daiquiris that you're sure to love. So come see us today at the Fish Shack in Byram, where we have great seafood and good daiquiris.
Follow the Black College Sports Network and all of our shows on YouTube. You can find us at MyJBN Online and on all social media at MyBCSN1.
Okay, so how long have you been coming to Stan's?
Since 1987. I've forever loved Stan's Burgers because the people, they're real people. They help the community, and their family own and operate. And the food, the quality, and service has always been phenomenal. And anywhere I'm at, I always recommend people to them. It's great food, and you get enough love for your money. If you need a good place to eat and you want a good environment to support the community and support the effort of the Jackson community, I recommend Stan's Super Burger to you because, like I said,
The Cuvée Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Cuvée.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
If you're looking for quality seafood with friendly service, then the Fish Shack is the place for you. We're fast, fresh, and convenient, and ready to serve you today. You can order online and come in, or pick up your food curbside.
Okay, so how long have you been coming to Stan's?
Since 1987. I've forever loved Stan's Burgers because the people, they're real people. They help the community, and their family own and operate. And the food, the quality, and service has always been phenomenal. And anywhere I'm at, I always recommend people to them. It's great food, and you get enough love for your money. If you need a good place to eat and you want a good environment to support the community and support the effort of the Jackson community, I recommend Stamps Super Burger to you because, like I said,
The Klub Group is a Florida-based marketing and training consulting firm. We help businesses communicate to their target audience and engage them in conversation. We also help to expand their audiences, which will ultimately result in growth for those organizations. In addition to being a certified constant contact specialist, my colleagues and I are also certified in John Maxwell Leadership Principles. We use these proven principles to conduct workshops, training, and private coaching sessions for individuals and companies looking to take things to the next level. Contact us to schedule a free consultation. Issues today, don't delay, call Klub.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
If you're looking for quality seafood with friendly service, then the Fish Shack is the place for you. We're fast, fresh, and convenient, and ready to serve you today. You can order online and come in, or pick up your food curbside. We have outdoor seating as well. Need something to cool your taste buds? We have tasty daiquiris that you're sure to love. So come see us today at the Fish Shack in Byram, where we have great seafood and good daiquiris.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and for all those who's listening and watching it from around the world. And we are now live from the corner of Dalton and Lynch Street. It's the show where we take you inside the game before the game begins. It's the Pregame. Brought to you by Chambers and Galen Law Firm with your host, Charles Bishop and Neely. So get ready because we pregame harder than the other show's party. It's the Pregame.
Hey, welcome to the pregame, the post-game edition. Tough one today for the Tigers as the Alabama State Hornets knock off Jackson State 35-28. Neely, it was a tough, hard-fought battle today, but take your hats off to Alabama State. They got it done when they had to get it done.
Yeah, they did, Chuck. And, everything that we talked about pregame, everything we talked about halftime came true. The players that we thought that were going to give us issues for Alabama State, they gave us issues. There were some things we left out on the field, some opportunities that we missed that could have turned this game in our favor. But it was a struggle for us from the jump street, particularly the impact it had on our run game. We're used to having a strong run game in that first half. That wasn't there. We did do some things differently that opened up that third quarter, opened up the second half. But when the clock hit double zeros, we were down.
Yeah, and we talked about a player like Ezra Gray. He came into this game as preseason All-SWAC, and I mean, he was everything as advertised. 23 carries, 198 yards, 8.5 per carry. Had a long of 50 yards today, 3 touchdowns. We just had a tough time trying to corral Ezra Gray today.
Very tough time. Our defensive line didn't show up today. We had some issues, had some challenges. We just weren't physical enough. We weren't dominant. Chan talked about earlier about that pad level. We just gave up some opportunities there. But Chuck, when we look at that third quarter, we went into halftime down. First time this season, we were down going into the half. We went into the fourth quarter up. So we have to look at what Alabama State was able to do in that fourth quarter, what we failed to do in that fourth quarter. We made the adjustments in the third. We did some things right in the third. We had 15 points unanswered in the third quarter.
Yeah, a little bit of role reversal in the third quarter. We outgained Alabama State 155 yards to 15 yards. Credit to Lane McGregor as he pinned them deep. And that kind of started a little bit of the momentum shift as we were able to get to safety. You said we got 15 points there in the third quarter. But it was the fourth quarter that proved to be the bugaboo today. And I take a look at the first drive of the fourth quarter. Again, Lane McGregor, he pinned Alabama State deep. But credit to them. They go 10 plays, 95 yards, get a huge touchdown. And that sort of snowballed the momentum, if you will, for the Hornets today.
Sure, because as we close out that third quarter on that 15 points unanswered, we got an interception, got a fumble, got a safety. Jones got a TD. That was in the third quarter. We get to that fourth quarter, and we're up on the scoreboard, and that's when they had that, what our favorite word is, methodical. They had a 95-yard methodical drive. Next thing you know, we're 21-21 again. And then that's when that Tiger football was typically flat in the third quarter became flat in the fourth quarter. And like you said, Chuck, role reversals. We were trying to play from behind the foot, had some big opportunities there. That kickoff return by Nugget, that went from a touchdown, stepped out of bounds, or they say stepped out of bounds. That went from a touchdown on the board to a 3-and-out. Big momentum swing right there. But we just have to do better. And this thing has been an issue. Although we were undefeated going to this game, it's always been got to learn how to win. Got to learn how to play up. Got to learn how to finish games. We didn't finish today. Anytime you're down at the half, up going into the fourth, you did your job for the third quarter. We didn't do that same job in the fourth quarter.
No doubt, got to finish the game. Ryan Nettles, and they talked about it during the broadcast today, playing behind 4 redshirt freshmen and a redshirt sophomore. He's a redshirt freshman himself. Ryan Nettles today, 27 of 42, 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he was only sacked once today. Alabama State's offensive line, they got it done.
This is I told you so. We talked about this pregame. We talked about this with Alabama State's SID. Talked about it with Coach Michael Pollock, our co-offensive coordinator. We called out these names. We knew Nettles was going to be capable of having a big game, which he did. And look at this, man. When you look at his classification, the classification of the offensive line, this is somebody we got to face and deal with for years to come. So let's get ready for this fall, facing them again because they're in the East. Today was an Eastern Conference game, so we're going to have to deal with their growth and development, and we're going to have to match. There were some bright spots. Christian Allen had a big pass. We got a pass interference that got us down on the 2-yard line. Got an unsportsmanlike penalty that backed us up. They got an unsportsmanlike penalty. They got us right back down there. We just didn't capitalize. Coach Prime words to us all week long. Got to learn how to win. Got to learn how to finish. We didn't finish. Again, I can't stress enough. Down at the halftime, up going into the fourth quarter, but you don't win the ball game. That's just indicative of not knowing how to finish.
Schematically, nice cat and mouse, both coaching staffs. I tip my hat to both of them. Travis Pearson, Alabama State's defensive coordinator. I tell you what, if there's anything with Jackson State is going to be working on this upcoming week, there's a blueprint in terms of trying to get to Jalen Jones, and they were able to blitz and get a lot of pressure on him today. They were able to get to him. Never seemed to schematically make the adjustment, if you will, to picking up the blitz. So there are things to work on moving forward. But you take your hat off to defense coordinator for Alabama State, Travis Pearson.
Man, hats off to them. You know, they had a lot of game film on us. We've been playing. We've been active. We've had 3 games they got to look at. We had the 1 game that they had for Southern. So they were able to do some homework, make some adjustments, and they had our number. We just, you know, Coach O is big on being physical. They were a little more physical than us. Jalen had a good game, but there were just some key passes in key moments that were slightly overthrown, slightly underthrown, and those were just momentum breakers. That kind of stuff is fixable. This is the goal wasn't to be undefeated this season. The goal is to represent the SWAC East in the SWAC championship and win the championship. That dream did not by any means die today. We're still in the hunt, still in the race, still can reach those goals.
Sure thing. We're going to bring our defensive analyst, Chad Ford, in here in just a second. Jalen, 19 of 50 today. The 50 attempts, I know that has to be the most that he's ever attempted as a Jackson State quarterback. Only 38% in terms of completion percentage today, 180 yards. He was sacked 5 times. But the schematic adjustment that was made after halftime, we only had 20 yards of rushing at halftime. And Jalen breaks big. He goes for 145 yards on the day, had a big run for 41 yards. Chad, welcome into the pregame show, postgame edition. We were talking a little bit about the cat and mouse, the schematic adjustments both coaching staffs made. What did you see from your defensive analyst standpoint?
Those Alabama, they played football. They made more plays than we did. We had a lot of mistakes. We got to recover from those mistakes. And you can't win ball games doing that. So, again, we got to go in, watch game film, coach them up.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. I see Deuce. Is that Deuce McAllister back there?
That is Deuce McAllister. He's joined us here at Churchill. I'm going to pass him the headset because he was able to watch the game, and I know he might have some comments for our Tiger fans out there. Chad, before we go to Deuce, and I know Jimmy Smith is logging on, what we talked about at halftime happened. You said we needed to go 3 and out. Went 3 and out. Jimmy Smith said he's coming on now. We need to establish the run. We established the run. It worked for the third quarter. 15 points unanswered in the third, going to the fourth ahead, just didn't learn how to finish.
And you said it all, Brother Neely. We got to play complete ball. It's going to be a scary thing once we play a complete, total ball game. Special team, offense, defense. We got to complete ball game.
No doubt about it. Waiting on Jimmy Smith to come in here. Pro, you touched on it at halftime. We needed to get a little bit of balance going. And Jackson State schematically, they made some adjustments after halftime. They went with an empty set, and they took the chains off Jalen, if you will, and let him run the ball a little bit. Jimmy, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Yeah, I was thinking that schematically, Jackson State made a change after halftime. They went with empty sets, and they let Jalen Jones kind of run the ball a little bit, and that provided a little bit of balance to try to find some things downfield.
It did. I think we laxed a little bit on defense with them hitting that seam right down the middle of the field. It was good for the offense to come out and figure out how to move the ball downfield. We had a couple of breaks that didn't go our way. And these things happen. I see we got Deuce McAllister up in here.
Yeah, I see we got Deuce up there. We'll go to Deuce in just a second.
Yeah.
When you have a game like this, Jimmy, how do you bounce back from a tough loss on the road?
Well, you just got to go back to the drawing board and get your rest, get healed up. It was a tough-fought game. You saw a lot of Alabama State players laying on the turf. Luckily, no big injuries for us, but we just got to go back. I think the morale is down a little bit because we didn't come out and play. We were a little sluggish this game, but we'll bounce back. This is a part of football. You win some, you lose some, and it was a tough-fought game. We had opportunities to win. We just were unlucky, and we didn't pull the game out today.
No doubt about it. Final score today, Alabama State 35, Jackson State 28. We got Deuce McAllister that's joined us here on the pregame show, post-game edition. Deuce, the strength, I think, of Jalen Jones is using his legs, and he used them more in the second half. But 50 attempts today, that's just kind of out of the norm for Jackson State's offense.
Well, I definitely think it's out of the norm for the offense. But I think one of the things that it shows you is, you have to lean a little bit more on the run game. I think you're deep enough at that running back position, and I think really when you look at the offensive line, in my opinion, that's one of the strengths of that team, and I think when you talk about Jalen being able to drop back 50 times, that's tough. That's tough, particularly for a quarterback that is sporadic. He's a quarterback that's hot and cold. He's a sporadic guy. And so even at the end there, you really didn't see them challenge the field. Most of the throws that they made were underneath throws. There was one where it was an out route. They were just trying to hit the tight end or the slot receiver on the out. That ball isn't accurate. It was low. They ended up making the catch, but it ended up being one where the play clock is still running. And so you just got to get him some throws where he's comfortable, where he feel like that he can make those throws consistently. But even the last play, as far as the interception is concerned, that was a route that they had ran probably 3 or 4 times, within the last 2 series. And so I understand and I know that they felt comfortable with it. But as a cornerback, Jimmy, and you know this, you're going to start sitting on routes. They're not challenging you down the field. And so that's something that they're going to have to go back and look at and say, hey, look, guys, we've got to be able to hit some double moves. We've got to be able to challenge those corners down the field. Even if we don't complete them, we've got to let them know that, hey, look, we're not afraid to push the ball down the field. And I think, overall, Jimmy talked about it a little bit, it's got to be back to basics. Because you see some of the things happening on the field, whether it's a big pass, whether it's the big run there at the end, whether it's the big return, it's little things. And it's not, obviously it's 11 on 11 on the field, but it's not all 11 making mistakes. It's 1 or 2 guys that are making mistakes. And so when you talk about just going back to basics, each individual knowing that I can trust my teammate that he is going to do his job, and I don't have to try to cover and do his job and try to worry about my job. You are responsible for your gap. You're responsible for your zone. That's what you do. And so the other thing I think that it's important, yes, Jackson State has had some early success, but at the same time, they haven't established a long-term culture of understanding how to win. And so that's something that you've got to you got to know how to do it. I think this game is different if it's at home, just because you're in a familiar territory. You've got that home crowd behind you. Going on the road, being challenged the way that they were, I think that's something that they got to continue to build upon as far as understanding and knowing exactly what the coaching staff wants them to do.
Jimmy, Deuce, Chad, anybody jump in here, but I want to follow up on that point you were making, Deuce, about establishing that culture. What goes into establishing that culture where you finish all 4 quarters?
Well, I can tell you this. I know Eric, like I said, it's about the mindset. It's about knowing these times what we had to do. 100 yards receiving, passing, 100 yards rushing, total yards, 200 total yards total offense. Those are our defensive goals every Saturday. So you got to establish the mindset. You got to believe in what you're doing. And I'm going to go back and piggyback on some of what Duke said about being able to lean on your brother. I got 2 words. It's about accountability and responsibility. Be responsible for your area. Hold your brother accountable. Start doing those things. Again, now, they haven't had much time, but I'm not going to make any excuses about the film, about nothing. About accountability and responsibility. Do your job. Understand who you are. Understand what you are. You are Jackson State University football Tiger. Play like it.
No doubt.
Yeah, I think that the fact that we have Coach Prime and the expectations are so high, it's really unfair to the players. Deuce mentioned it earlier, accountability on offense, and we faced this before. You got 11 guys on offense. Just think if each guy made 1 mistake. It doesn't seem so bad, but during the course of the game, that's 11 mistakes just on offense. You will lose the game.
Sure thing.
Yeah, and I think it's just going to take some time. It's easier said than done, particularly when you're trying to establish and let guys know that, this is what expected. I mean, you can go back at something as simple as touching a line. And, you know, guys, you know it. Sometimes you may run all the way through the line. Sometimes you may cheat that line. But at some point, just like you guys have said, at some point, if you're not doing it, you're going to come up short. It is going to eventually, you know, rear its ugly head. And not to say that that was specifically what happens, but you don't have to maybe gamble as much if each individual is doing his job. And what I mean by that is I can trust that my defensive unit is going to do what it needs to be doing. I can trust that my special teams unit is going to make an extra point or cover a kickoff like it needs to be done. You know, I don't have to be as aggressive offensively or defensively because I know my defense can hold a team to 14 points or 21 points, you know, just because they trust and they know exactly what they're doing. This is still a good football team. You know, the season isn't lost because you lost this game. I think the focus has to get back to doing the little things, doing it the right way, and then I think that you'll eventually get to where you want to go. But, you know, I think this gives that coaching staff the opportunity to say, look, guys, this is what we have to do. You can't freelance and do your own thing. You know, if you don't do it within the system, then this is what happens.
No doubt about it. Great insight from Chad Ford, Jimmy Smith, and Deuce McAllister joining us here on the pregame show, postgame edition, brought to you by none other than our sponsors today, the Chuck Mullins Attorney at Law, Chambers and Gaylor, Amber Slaughter, Turner Insurance, and Penn Street Investments. You know, guys, and I think, Deuce, you touched on it in terms of what would you tell Jackson State fans right now moving forward? You know, they're probably a little down today, you know, expectations being what they are, but still, you mentioned it's a good football team, a lot of things to work on moving forward.
I would say right now to those fans, still believe in these young men. Still support this coaching staff. You know, when you look forward, you got a lot to be proud of. No, it was not perfect. No, you did not come out victorious. But I think that this team, this coaching staff still needs you, still support this group because there's still a lot of football to be played, not just this spring, but they're building for the fall as well. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, you look back on some of those bad times that you had. You know what that's like. You don't want to return to that. So this team still needs your support, and they need you to be behind them.
No doubt about it. Jimmy, any parting words from Team 82?
Keep in mind, guys, this is last year's team. This is last year's team. You know, coming from where they come from a year ago, they're doing a remarkable job. And you're gonna run up against some tough opponents. Grambling was a tough opponent. That game could have went anywhere. You know, I do know this team they're going through the course of being battle tested, and it's going to pay off in the end. Unfortunately, we got a loss, but this may turn out to be the best loss of the season if it's such a thing.
No doubt about it. Chad, any parting words?
Just to piggyback on what Jimmy Smith said and Deuce said, you know, to change the culture, it takes time. Again, we have to remember, we have a good football team. They're still getting acclimated to one another, to take time to put in schemes, to put in defensive philosophies, and then get out here and get a game plan, implement that game plan week in and week out. In a short turnaround time, it's going to take time. But we have to make the plays that we're supposed to make. We're not going to make excuses for that. But like Deuce said, it's a good football team. We're not going to turn our backs on them. We're going to push them, get behind them, and support them, and let them know that we love them. And they can. They can. They got to believe.
No doubt. Got to believe. Final score today, 35-28. Alabama State gets the win. SWAC East. Final stats, Jalen Jones goes 19 of 50, 180 yards. One TD. He also rushed for 145 yards. Corey Reed had a big game today. 8 receptions for 99 yards. Tyson Alexander, he goes 18 carries for 85 yards. We take a look at Alabama State. Ryan Nellis, tremendous game for him today, 27 of 42, 257 yards, only sacked once. Ezra Gray, huge game, 23 carries, 198 yards. Alabama State got it done. You know, it was a tough loss, but a loss that we all can build on and move forward with. So as we wrap things up here on the Black College Sports Network, it is the pregame show, postgame edition. Charles Bishop and Neely, I tell you what, guys, Tough one today, but we'll bounce back. We are Tiger Strong. Go Tigers. As always, thank you all for joining us here on the Black College Sports Network. We thank our sponsors. We thank our underwriters. And we'll see you on the other side.
All right.